us online at redriverradio.org. Local support for this hour's programming comes from Bluebird Broadband, a local internet company specializing in commercial-grade internet and phone services for businesses throughout northwest and central Louisiana. Bluebird Voice bundles phone systems with digital service. More information is at bluebirdbroadband.com or by calling Kevin R. Willie at 318-908-1000.
And welcome again into the television version of Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. Delighted that you've tuned in, joined with me today here on Strategies for Living. Well, we're all about helping us live healthier, happier, more peaceful lives in our bodies, in our minds, in our spirits, in our relationships here in the 21st century. Now, we do that by engaging in important conversations with folks we like to call life strategists. And see, I get choked up even thinking about my life strategist today. Please welcome into Strategies for Living the host of Talk of the Town on 90.7 FM, The Promise, offering the first news of the afternoon. Mr. Tom Pace, good afternoon.
Good
Mr.
afternoon.
Pace, how you doing?
Mr. McMillan. It's
Good to see you.
It's an honor and a privilege
It's
to be here.
It's always an honor and a privilege when you come on Strategies for Living.
Well, I was
television version or radio version.
well, whatever it is. I mean, you've got any number of versions. It can be 2.0.
Exactly.
But the point being is, I'm honored that you asked me to come today, and when you called me, I said to myself, because I do that, why is that man calling me?
Well, because this show, among other things, is about broadcasting. And you are a broadcaster's broadcaster, Tom Pace, at least in this area. I'm talking about Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, because that's where you've spent your career. How long has it spanned?
53 years.
50 years. So
but who's counting?
But who's counting? So you started in broadcast, what year would that be?
Well, technically it was 65 at a little 1,000-watt, as Ted Knight said on Mary Tyler Moore, 1,000-watt in Texas, but it was in Arkansas.
1,000-watt radio station, which, you know, for an AM station, 1,000 watts usually covers a small town pretty well, and beyond. And so... Now, what year did you come into Shreveport? That was in the 80s, wasn't it?
Well, it was early 80s. It was 78 or so. I worked at KRRP in Coshada, helped put that station on the air down on Highway 1 before there was an I-49.
Right.
And I had to make that commute every day. It was an hour-long commute at least.
Who was who put KRRP on the air?
It was Jim Bethard, the attorney down there in Coshada, and his wife Flo. Mm-hmm. And he still has it, but I understand it's kind of like another different facility now, and not unto being on the air down there, but it's in a little, what I called a Quonset hut in the middle of a cow pasture.
I'm not sure how I feel about those call letters, KRRP.
Well, it was Red River Parish.
Right.
They're
I understand.
all your call signs are either what's called geographic location or vanity.
That's right.
And in this case,
you pick them out. You pick them out, and you pick them out from. Of course, they can't be duplicated. So, Keel here in Shreveport has KEEL. No one else in the nation, of course, can have KEEL.
And KWKH that I worked for like 35 years it stands for Will K. Henderson, the man who put KWKH on the air.
Absolutely.
And one of the first 10 stations in the United States that were actually on the air.
1965. What's the biggest story that you've ever covered, Tom? Because you span a tremendous amount of time.
I knew you were going to ask that, David. They're all big. You know, even if somebody is having a bake sale for the Girl Scouts, there's a story behind it.
Well, you're even hawking roses.
That's right.
From
the North Shreveport Lions Club, we've been doing it 37 years, and we deliver a dozen red roses to your mama, to your lady friend, to your wife.
So it's going to be Friday, May the 11th.
That's
so find your Lions Club guy or come see you.
Come see me.
Yeah, well, I can tell you where to find him every day at 3 o'clock.
That's right. Live at the 90.7 FM, The Promise. First News live at 3, I like to say.
There you go.
You ask who is the best or the most...
The biggest story, the most significant story.
I found a picture just yesterday, cleaning out a room. I found a picture when I covered George Bush at Centenary College, if you remember, way back then. And we were at KRM, I was there a while back at KRMD, and there is this picture of me looking semi-professional with a suit and tie.
Now we're talking about George H.W. Bush when he came to do the commencement address.
Yes, that's exactly
for Centenary
right.
College.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was during his son's, was that during W's presidency?
Wait a minute, that might have been W who came. All I know is there was a police officer who went down on his motorbike and hurt himself.
I think it was George H.W. Bush that came to.
And I was sorry to hear that Miss Barbara is now not well. She has agreed she will not take any more medication. She's calling it comfort care at home. She's 92, so
wow.
Everybody, if you know the Bushes, you know Barbara Bush, Miss Bush, the First Lady, if you will, keep her in your prayers. Now that you're talking about your life strategies, that was one of the stories that I covered that event. And then the other was I met a great man 5 years ago. No, he passed 5 years ago. I met him in 2002. His name, General Norman Schwarzkopf.
Oh, wow.
And I can understand why his troops would have literally walked through hell to do what he said, because he ruled, unlike General Patton, old blood and guts that patch him up and send him back out into the field.
Right.
Schwarzkopf was what I call a soldier.
Stormin' Norman. Huh?
Stormin' Norman, he was 20 clicks away from taking down the bad guy over there, and then they called him back, and he was never happy about that. But I did get to meet him at a Medal of Honor event that I helped. I was the coordinator for the media for, and he walked into the green room. And I was there by myself at the time, had not expected, and he walks in, an imposing man. Well, you know, I'm 5'6", so anybody's imposing. How tall are you?
5'8".
Yeah, you're imposing. In fact, you've imposed on me so many times.
Many times, including today.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
So anyway, he walks in, and I turn around, and I almost do a double take, and almost, my pants. And so then I said, "Oh, General, it's so good to meet you." And I'm shaking his hand, nervous all at the same time. And I noticed that he was not wearing a flag pin. Mm-hmm. I happen to have some commemorative pins made for our committee. And so I said, "Would you mind if I put one of these pins on you?" He said, "No problem." So I'm placing this pin on General Schwarzkopf's coat, and he is much taller than I, and I was so nervous I dropped the pin right, and there was nobody there. However, to my surprise, later, I picked it up and then I put it on, and he was wonderful to everybody. Everybody thought, oh, he's going to be really, I'm
right.
Mr. General Schwarzkopf, and salute me and all. He wasn't.
Well, you've met you've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people. Do you find that most people, not all, but most people are just regular folks, no matter what their press is?
Absolutely, and I'm going to tell you, Dr. Fleming, John, great man.
Yeah.
And David Vitter, whatever his issues were, a very great man. Mary Landrieu, a very fine lady, have known her. Senator Kennedy, now U.S. Senator Kennedy, way back when,
Is he going to run for governor? What's he? I know you've had him on. Is he going to make the run?
You know what? That's only John knows that, because I'm going to tell you, he would not telegraph his intentions, especially right in the middle of all of these other confirmation hearings that are going on. Right. I think he is in.
It's been interesting.
He's in the catbird seat right now.
It's been interesting to watch how much of the national media, because he's a junior senator from Louisiana.
He is.
He's the first-term senator. It's been interesting to watch the national media cover him. And, you know, I could have predicted that because he's so down to earth and common sense.
Wait. Is that an oxymoron with a politician, down to earth and common sense?
I won't call any politician a moron, Tom,
I didn't say you did. I said an oxymoron. That's more than one.
But, you know, it's been interesting to watch networks like ABC, how much they go to him. Because they've got, of course, 100 senators that they can go to.
And he was on Face the Nation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's been interesting to watch that. And so I predict whatever Senator Kennedy does, he'll be successful at.
Well, you know, and the big story was who's going to run for governor. It's alleged, and I can use that word, alleged, that John Bel Edwards is a one-term wonder. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that demeaning him. I'm just saying that many people have said, oh, he came in with lots of promises and did not keep them.
Right.
So who was going to run against John Bel Edwards? And I had heard Steve Scalise, and then I had heard John Kennedy. Well, now it turns out that Scalise could be your Speaker of the House.
He could well be.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to be the majority guy, because Paul Ryan has already endorsed McCarthy. So
now, when did you make the switch over to the Promise FM? How long have you been there?
It's been about 5 years. Yes, sir. Okay. It's been, and I was over at Cumulus.
You were at KRMD AM.
KRMD AM for a good 10, 12 years.
That's where you started Talk of the Town, isn't it?
That's exactly. I was given an opportunity to do a 1-hour talk show. I did. Went over quite well. Did 2 hours. I was blessed. They said, name it whatever you want. I called Talk of the Town, but in
I
truth...
think Ed Sullivan beat you to that.
Thank you very much, Mr. You-know-it-all. Yes, I was going to say that.
The Sullivan Show back when, you know, so much of early television.
It was originally the toast of the town,
that's right.
to be honest.
But so much of early TV started out on radio.
Yes.
And made that transition. Programs like The Lone Ranger, programs like The Jack Benny Show, programs like Toast of the Town, Talk of the Town, Ed Sullivan.
And I Love Lucy.
I Love Lucy.
And the Bob Hope. I mean, you got to remember the thing with Hope and all that.
Did you start listening to radio as a kid, Tom?
Oh my gosh!
Did you know? You know, that's where. It's the Harry Chapin song, WOLD. There's a line in it that says, you know, listening to the radio, knew that was the place I wanted to be. Was that Tom growing up listening to the radio?
Yeah, not only that, but at the age of 5, I was doing remotes at a record shop in Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
5 years old, you're on the radio.
With a ukulele, and there's a photo of it, and there's women in poodle skirts, and they didn't have poodles back then, kids.
If we'd have known that, we'd have duplicated that today. We could have gotten you a ukulele and some
that would been
ladies in poodle skirts around you.
Me and Tiny Tim. Yeah. No, so yes, and at that age, I knew I wanted to be in radio. And
what was the attraction for you? Do you know?
What was the attraction for me? It was, I don't know. I guess because I'm a Pisces. I turned 71 on March the 8th. And
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And have you had yours yet?
November, yeah.
November when?
Scorpio, November 15th.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, just don't sting me, okay?
I won't.
So, and you're very, get that stinger up. So whenever I realized I wanted to do it, I did it because one of the things about Pisces is you're either extremely extroverted or extremely introverted.
Right.
I was the extrovert. My mother, I was on a train from Pine Bluff going over to Monroe, and they were looking for me. Mom couldn't find me, and all of a sudden they said, "Oh, you're talking about a little kid?" And yeah, well, I go back. She goes back, and I'm talking to some man. And I think I was 6 or 7, and she said, "Is he bothering you?" And he said, "No, I found him quite delightful." Well, my mother said, "Well, he'll talk to anybody. I think he was vaccinated with a phonograph needle."
Well, that's the reason we've got him here today, folks. He'll talk to anybody. Mr. Tom Pace from the Talk of the Town, The Promise, 90.7 FM. You can tune in this afternoon at 3 o'clock. But stay right where you are because we've got more with Tom Pace here on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back.
It's been more than 5 minutes. No, it hasn't.
Hey, can you two
I
keep
want
it down
it.
for
It's
me?
my turn. No, it isn't.
Please, just keep it down.
I remember days when just driving down the street would give me anxiety. And now look at me.
Don't get me wrong, I still don't love crowded places. But it's good to get out again.
Noises like that used to make me hit the deck. But now, I can keep going.
Transitioning from the military can be tough. We all have unique experiences, but many veterans are facing similar challenges. Life goes on, but some things are different now. Visit MakeTheConnection.net to watch our stories and learn ways to create the story you want to live. No one can write it for you. Make sure it's a good one. Make the connection.
Welcome back. Welcome back into the television version of Strategies for Living. Of course, you're watching Strategies, but you know, you can listen to Strategies, and I hope you will. Where? Well, Sunday mornings, 9:05 to 10 on 710 Keel, 90.7 FM, and every weeknight afternoon, early evening, 7 p.m., 7:05 to 8, Monday through Friday, where we started. 710 Keel, 90.7 FM, and I hope you'll tune in, as I hope you'll tune in to Mr. Tom Pace's program. He's our life strategist today here on Strategies for Living. Tom and I go back, well, to the 80s when late 70s rather, when you started stomping around.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute,
area.
kid. Wait a minute.
I was at Keel.
No.
I think.
I'm the one that put you on Keel.
Well,
I'm the one that helped you and Whistlebritches get your show up there.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly right.
The show, but see, I was talking about my broadcast career, which started at KBCL in 74. Then I went over in sales in 1976 to Keel. I think you and I met 78, 79, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was about 80.
You were in sales at KWK.
And I helped you get you and Mark.
Right.
Get your groove on.
That's exactly right.
And
now again, every afternoon, 3 o'clock, you can get your first afternoon news on The Promise, on the Talk of the Town with Tom Pace. How do you go about choosing the stories that you're going to cover? Like, do you know today? The show's at 3 o'clock, a couple of hours away, 2.5 hours away. Do you know today who you're going to have on? And
I'm glad.
How far do you book ahead?
I can book as far as 2-3 weeks, depending upon the person, depending upon the event. Mm-hmm. I can book as far as 5 minutes, like I did last week when the weather was going to be kind of dicey on a Thursday, and I called the Weather Bureau, and I had the guy on the air. I said, "Do you mind?" "Oh, no, I take it back. It was Friday before everything came through."
Right.
And I called up and I said, can you talk to me live? And I'm going to call you about 308, 310. He goes, "Fine." So I have a hotline to them that I can call their number, and they came on the line. Now, today, I think there is a man. I want to make sure whether it's the man or a lady. John Preston is on there, and he's going to talk about female veterans committing suicide at alarming rates.
Oh, wow.
Even more so than male
Wow.
veterans. And he's going to be on at 3:20 this afternoon. I've already arranged, and this is a nationally known man.
You know, we were talking the last segment about Senator John Kennedy. It's interesting, I tuned into Robert and Aaron's program this morning on Keel, and they were talking about booking guests also, and I found it interesting. They were talking about how, when John Kennedy was the Louisiana treasurer, they could pretty much call up and get him on. Nowadays, they said it's a 2 callback deal. That the higher up you get, when you book a guest, the more built-in callbacks to confirm. So Senator Kennedy is 2 callbacks now. They were saying Robert Wright mentioned, well, when we had Vice President Pence on, that was 4 confirmations, 4 callbacks. And, I find that interesting, because most of the guests that I book on Strategies are authors and things like that, so I'm booking through most of the time through their publicity people, their publishers, but sometimes with them directly. And I'm accustomed to, as I did with you, call you up, would you like to be on today? Sure, I'll be there. But it's just interesting to see the background of sometimes what you go through to get guests on the air.
It's funny, I had been calling for Senator Kennedy, and I called his communications director, and I tried to get him on the air, and she goes, gee, I'm sorry, Tom, but if you wish to listen in on a conference call, we're going to do that today. And you can dial in, and I guess amongst other radio stations.
Put him on the air.
I put him on the air. I chose not to do that.
Right.
Because I like to talk to my guests one-on-one, like Senator Cassidy or Congressman Mike Johnson or, Clay Higgins.
You've mentioned, Tom, both sides of the aisle. You've mentioned Republicans, you've mentioned Democrats, and I think this is apropos now because of what's going on in the news last night, the breaking of the Comey interviews. Is it hard for you, and I'm not going to ask you, and I hope you wouldn't ask me what my political affiliation is. I think that's private.
Well, I'll tell you. No, let me tell you that.
But is it hard for you to maintain a balance, a rightful balance?
It's interesting. It is, but I'm going to tell you, and I'll tell everybody, you can put any label you wish on me. I'm a conservative. I believe in right to life. I believe in the 10 Commandments. I believe in our Constitution and all the amendments. And I believe in especially the Second Amendment. And, of course, the right to free speech, but not to yell fire in a theater.
Right.
Okay, there's certain, levels. Right. But then does that make me A, B, or C? Not necessarily, but and I'll say it on the air. I'll tell anybody, if you've got, if you want to be heard, then contact me and I'll set up a time to visit with you. I'm not going to bring somebody cold on air.
Right.
Without, and if maybe I use the word vetting them, just making sure that they're not going to come in and start spewing hate.
Well, that leads me to another question, because as a show host, you have a following that has developed, first with KRMD, now with The Promise. People depend that you're going to put guests on the air that are going to be interesting and that are going to stretch their knowledge, huh?
Well, and that's the very reason why I tend to stay away from what I call the crime blotter stories. Rapes, robberies, murders, muggings, fires, things of that nature. Now, the situation that just developed where the man took his girlfriend hostage,
right,
and it was broadcast live on Facebook, and Chief Alan Crump, Shreveport, had the news conference. I attended that.
Right.
And I broadcast it live on my Facebook feed. So, yes, I I draw a line there. I'm not going to cover everybody that got shot, but at the same point, if it is of major import to our community, in fact, I'll mention the tornado today, hitting Caddo and then Bossier.
Well, I tell you this, Tom. I know you're like the Energizer Bunny. I know you've said you're 71 years old, so I'll broadcast that again because you've said it.
Thank you. And I'm proud of it, too, by the way.
But you're like the Energizer Bunny in broadcasting, so I hope that you have many, many, many more years. Folks, you can tune into Tom Pace on The Promise, 90.7 FM, every weekday afternoon. You start straight up.
Yeah,
3 o'clock,
and
right?
not to forget, we do live audio streaming at www.promisetalkradio.org. So they get us all over the World Wide Web.
You can listen to them any place you are in the country, and I hope you will. 90.7 FM every afternoon. First news of the afternoon on The Promise, 90.7 FM on the Talk of the Town with Tom Pace.
Well, there we are.
And there we live on Facebook now.
Right now.
Folks, don't forget to tune in to Strategies for Living on the radio. Thank you for watching today, but remember, we're Monday through Friday now, 7:05 to 8 o'clock on 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Also Sunday mornings from 9:05 to 10. And like Tom said, I'm not near as good as Tom at Trip W, but I'll try it since he did. Strategiesforliving.com. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? For Mr. Tom Pace, I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. See you next time here on Strategies for Living.
You shouldn't actually always ask a question until you're certain you know what's coming out the other end. And that was over the referendum, and it was about decommissioning of guns and a whole lot of questions. And I would say to Simon, that would be better that we rest that and let's resolve these issues at the moment. I want to live peacefully with my neighbours in Northern Ireland. I do not want to be in a place apart, in a space where we don't know each other as strangers. We've come a long way, and what I want to do is allow people the consensus, which was at the core of our agreement, to decide what they want to be in the future. That drives them. That Brexit issue will drive them into a place where they don't want to be.
But 20 years on, Monica, we have the uncertainty of Brexit, and we have political limbo in Northern Ireland. How long can that be allowed to continue before it becomes profoundly dangerous for the security of Northern Ireland?
I don't think we're anywhere close to it becoming profoundly dangerous. I don't think we're anywhere close to a reoccurrence of the violence. I do think that we are in a very uncertain period where people, once again, when they don't need to be angry with each other, are. I am certain that we will come through this without violence. Now, that doesn't mean that people are rushing to sign up to be custom officers or immigration officers, because they are the people who may be threatened. But we've lived with that as a kind of roller coaster as we've tried to implement this agreement, and we may have to continue living with that. But that does not mean we will go back to anything close to the conflict that I came through. We've tasted the price of peace, and we will go on doing so.
There was a time when you were a young woman and the Troubles were at their height that you thought about living in the United States. You did live there for some time, but then you decided to come home. Do you think your grandchildren will actually want to live in Northern Ireland, or will they see it as a place which is too divided, too segregated to make a decent life?
I came home, I left after the murder of my good student friend Michael Mallon in 1974 because I thought it was never going to change, and I couldn't bear it. But I couldn't bear to stay there in the United States, far away, and watch what was going on in my own country. So I got my qualifications and came home and set myself about working. You asked this question with myself having a son in Chicago, and I've lived my life to make the country a peaceful place for him to come home to. He loves where he's at. He's got a good job where he's at. And my other son has also had to leave because he couldn't find a job in Northern Ireland. That's the country I want to have. I want not just my children to come home, I want every child to come home. Not just to a safe place, but a place of prosperity where they can work.
Monica McWilliams, thank you very much for being on Hard Talk.
Distribution of the BBC World Service in the U.S. is made possible with support from Carbonite, offering data protection solutions for businesses, including automatic backup for servers, endpoint protection, high availability and disaster recovery, and data migration. Learn more at carbonite.com. And by College Vine. Near-peer mentors use guidance technology to help high schoolers discover interests, improve SATs, and navigate the college admissions process. collegevine.com.
I'm Tim Franks, host of BBC NewsHour. Coming up, the first reporter to get inside Duma after the alleged chemical attack. Russia's foreign minister speaks lengthily and angrily to the BBC, and a journey begins across Castro's Cuba.
This afternoon at 3 o'clock here on Red River Radio.
A decade.
From the studios at Bossier Parish Community College, this is BBC News.
Welcome to BBC News. I'm Esther Duty, filling in for Sarah Patterson.
And I'm Danny Foots.
Various spring events sponsored by the Office of Student Life will be held during this week. All students are invited to participate free of charge. Today from 1:30 p.m., you can decorate a clay pot and plant a cactus at Hug a Cactus Day in the Quad. Students will also receive an info card that contains a short but thorough description of their new ecological home, patio, or garden addition, available while supplies last.
Project Celebration and the Barksdale Sark team are hosting the first annual Shine Light on Sexual Assault 5K. The Color Fun Run will begin at 6 p.m. and will cost $25. The 5K Glow Run will begin at 7 p.m. and will cost $30. All participants will receive a t-shirt on the day of the race, and color and glow sticks will be provided with your packets. Join us at LSUS campus and let's team up to shine the light on this issue. Together we can put an end to this senseless act.
A LifeShare mobile blood drive will be held today until 2:30 p.m. and tomorrow from 8:30 to 2:30 p.m. in the parking lot outside of Building F. Faculty, staff, and students and the community are invited to give the gift of life. Donors must present a valid ID at the time of donation and have plenty to eat and drink before donating. All blood donations benefit the local community blood supply. Anyone in good health who meets height, weight, and donation eligibility requirements may give blood.
The Bossier Parish Community College Division of Communication and Performing Arts and the Cavalier Players announced that the 2018 annual Spring Festival of One Act Plays will be held at 6 p.m. tomorrow in the Bipsy Performing Arts Theater. Check-in will be in the theater lobby. Generally, the One Act Festival may contain mature subject matter and or language and may not be suitable for all children. For more information, contact the Bipsy Theater at 318-678-6021 or at theater@bipsy.edu.
The final performance for the Bipsy Theater's newest play, Rumors, is set for April 22nd in the Bipsy Theater in Building C. Admission is free to all Bipsy students with your valid student ID. Come check out this hilarious play written by Tony Award-winning playwright Neil Simon.
Come join professional voice actors Joshua Passmore and James Larrabee for our very own Bipsy Voice Acting Seminar. Topics will include voice acting industry, steps to joining the industry, and the voice acting company Starman Studios will show us how to do an audition for a role, and there will also be an open Q&A. The seminar will be on April 27th from 1:30 to 3:30 in Building D, room 311.
The Graduate Career Fair will be on Wednesday, April 18th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Building F. You can explore college transfer options, career opportunities, and potential career paths. Please come prepared to meet attending companies with resumes and dress professionally. For questions about the Career Fair, contact Peggy Fuller, Dean of Student Success, at 318-678-6133.
Today until 1:30 and tomorrow from 9:30 to 1:30 p.m., the Caddo Parish Health Unit will provide STD awareness information and testing to students. Stop by Building F for your free and confidential tests.
After the break, Lauren Wagner has your weather forecast.
And what food is getting recalled next? Stay tuned and find out.
Hey guys, I'm Lauren Wagner with your Bipsy weather, and let's take a preview of your next few days. Today for Monday, after that rainy weekend, we have pretty weather with a high of 70 and a low of 50. Tomorrow for your Tuesday, our pretty weather continues with a high of 82 and a low of 61. And for your Wednesday, we have partly cloudy with a 20% chance of rain with a high of 78 and a low of 52. Coming up after the break, we're going to look at your current temperatures around the Arklatex, take a look at your temperatures right here at Bipsy, and see what more rain we have in store for the weekend.
1,297.
What?
Guys, help me!
Good, good.
The Coast Guard Foundation gave me funds to attend school. During that same time, my wife was pregnant. The foundation's grant allowed us to buy food, diapers, clothing.
The Coast Guard Foundation really helps us to keep in touch with our families. They make an impact, and it leaves an impression that you don't forget.
I would like to thank the Coast Guard Foundation for helping out when times were tough.
Because sometimes, even the rescuers need to be rescued. The Coast Guard Foundation, proudly supporting the men and women of the United States Coast Guard and their families. Find out how you can help at rescuetherescuers.org.
Hey guys, welcome back to Bipsy Weather. I'm Lauren Wagner. Let's look at your current temperatures around the Arklatex. Around the Arklatex, it's in the 50s all over the place, with 55 in Marshall. We have 58 degrees in Nacogdoches, while we have 51 in Texarkana, Ruston, and in Minden. And for Natchitoches, we have 57 degrees. Let's look at your temperatures right here at Bipsy. Right now at Bipsy, it's partly cloudy and 55 degrees, with a humidity of 40%. Your dew point is at 32 degrees, with a wind coming in from the north at 6 miles per hour, and your sunset tonight is at 7:45. Let's check out your 5-day forecast. Throughout the week, it's going to be really nice with a high of 82 tomorrow and a low of 61. Your Wednesday, it's going to have a slight chance of rain, and it's partly cloudy with a high of 78 and a low of 52. For your Thursday, we have a high of 77 and a low of 53. And when we go into your weekend, it's still going to be really nice with a high of 74 and a low of 57. But for your Saturday, we have another storm coming in with a 60% chance of rain with a high of 74 and a low of 55. Right now, it's too early to tell how severe that storm's going to be, but we'll keep you updated as we get updates ourselves. I'm Lauren Wagner with your Bipsy Weather. Back to you guys at the desk.
Caddo Sheriff Steve Prater is warning residents about a bank card scam involving the theft of personal information and money. In recent days, CPSO has received reports from citizens who have received text messages allegedly from their banks stating that their bank card has been locked. The message directs them to call a phone number that is provided. Upon doing so, they are asked for the card information, including the PIN number, to reactivate the card. Once the information is provided, the suspect makes fraudulent withdrawals, generally from ATMs located inside retail stores. These cases are currently under investigation by the Caddo-Shreveport Financial Crimes Task Force. Sheriff Prater reminds citizens to never provide personal information to someone who contacts you first.
A man arrested early Sunday morning has been accused of simple possession of marijuana and obscenity. According to the LSU Police Department, officers were dispatched around 12:45 a.m. to the basement of Audubon Hall, where a man was reportedly walking around completely naked. Upon arrival, authorities found 30-year-old Michael West, who was still unclothed. Police located West's clothing in a nearby room. Officers say over 21 grams of marijuana was found, some of which was in his pants. West was booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison for 1 count of obscenity and 1 count of simple possession of marijuana.
A Caddo Parish school is closed Monday as the community continues to pick up the pieces following Friday's storms. The Caddo Heights Elementary remains without power and will be closed as SWEPCO works to restore services in the community. A tornado was confirmed in Caddo and Bossier parishes. It was ranked as an EF1 with a peak speed of 110 miles per hour. The tornado traveled a total of 22 miles with a path width of 1,100 yards. Now, neighborhoods are left to clean up and remove the debris.
Roseacre Farms is recalling more than 200 million eggs because they have the potential to be contaminated with salmonella. The affected eggs originated from Hyde County, North Carolina, and were distributed to New York, Colorado, Florida, New Jersey, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. They have the plant number P1065 with the date range of 011 through 102 on the carton. 22 illnesses have been reported. Salmonella's main symptoms include fever, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. Anyone who purchased contaminated eggs is asked to return them to the store and get a full refund.
If you drive Interstate 49 through Shreveport, you might have noticed some major improvements in terms of the scenery over the past few months. There's about 800 trees, all native to this area, like the cypress, myrtle, magnolia, and red maple, just to name a few. The work and massive amounts of effort trying to get these trees and plants in the ground has been going on for close to 16 years. It's a $1 million project, most of the money coming from a federal grant. The state of Louisiana has been holding that cash for Shreveport for over a decade. No other major projects like this are on the horizon now, but officials say that they're just really thankful that this one is almost complete.
Good news for parents, but bad news for dentists. Fewer dental cavities are found in kids and young adults, but some minority groups are still most at risk. Here's Melissa Rainey with today's Health Minute.
A new study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that young people ages 2 through 19 have fewer dental cavities. That number dropped from 50% in 2012 to just over 43% in 2016. The downside of this study found that young members of some minority communities, Hispanic and African American, continue to have the highest number of cavities as well as the highest number of untreated cavities. A professor at the University of Southern California's Herman Ostrow School of Dentistry says socioeconomic status, education level, and access to health care are just a few reasons why the minority numbers are higher. Here are a few tips to good dental health. The CDC says have your child visit a dentist for a first checkup by the time they turn 1. Speak to the dentist about the child using fluoride, and make sure the child is brushing with the right tools and using good technique. For today's Health Minute, I'm Melissa Rainey.
After the break, a fight goes down at Superior Steakhouse.
And could the internet someday be taxed? That's coming up next.
If you're like most Americans, you may be surprised to learn where some of the best-known calypso songs originated and how you can enjoy them at home today. Though such songs as Deo, Jamaica Farewell,
Down the way where the nights are gay and the sun shines daily on the mountain top. I took a trip on a sailing ship, and when I reached Jamaica, I made a stop.
Island in the Sun,
Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand. All my days I will sing in praise of your forest waters, your shining sand.
and many more may sound like they sprang from roving troubadours. They were all written by the same man. Irving Burgee was born in 1924 and attended Juilliard School of Music on the GI Bill. Then in the 1950s, he met singer Harry Belafonte. Their association led to the album Calypso, the first to sell 1 million copies. Burgee's songs have been heard on Broadway, TV, in movies, and in many places where people love to sing. Deo even went into space, used as a wake-up call on the shuttle Atlantis. He also wrote Barbados' national anthem, as well as the Christmas evergreen Mary's Boy Child. Now his life and music can be seen and heard on an exciting, tuneful DVD available at irvingburgee.com. At that site, you can also get CDs of his music and a 25-tune songbook, as well as his riveting autobiography, Deo.
There's no one more deserving of our thanks than our nation's veterans. So when a veteran's dealing with an injury or health problem, it's a privilege to help and support them in their recuperation. Help Hospitalized Veterans has found a unique way to do just that. They pioneered the use of arts and craft kits as a therapeutic tool. HHV provides these kits to veterans to use in their homes at no charge. The kits can aid physical rehabilitation, and they're also a valuable tool to help veterans with PTSD. They provide a creative outlet, relieve stress, and they also remind our veterans that there are plenty of folks who really care about them and want to thank them for their service. In some areas, veterans can use the kits in the company of other veterans at local community craft centers. If you're a veteran receiving health care anywhere, call this number to receive your free kit or visit hhv.org to learn more. Thank you.
U.S. and allied warships and warplanes in the eastern Mediterranean launched missiles at multiple military targets in Syria to punish the Russian-backed government for its alleged use of poison gas against civilians last weekend. Trump authorized the attack against President Bashar Assad's government and sought to cripple its chemical and biological weapon facilities with what he called precision airstrikes. French and British forces joined the attack. The Pentagon said about 120 missiles targeted a scientific center that was used for research, development, and production of chemical and biological agents, a chemical weapons storage facility, and a separate chemical agent storage site and command post. Officials said no U.S., French, or British casualties were reported.
The debate about paying sales tax on online purchases is heading to the U.S. Supreme Court. Big retailers like Amazon and Walmart collect sales tax on all online sales in the 45 states with a statewide sales tax. Many smaller retailers do not, unless they have a physical presence in the state where the buyer lives. Many of the sales these small retailers are getting are through bigger sites like Amazon and Walmart. That practice stems from a 1992 Supreme Court decision. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear South Dakota versus Wayfair to determine whether to overturn that 26-year-old ruling. If it is reversed, that could mean all online retailers have to collect taxes everywhere, something brick and mortar have argued will level the playing field. President Donald Trump has argued Amazon doesn't collect sales tax, even though the company does. The Trump administration will join the oral argument in favor of online retailers being required to collect sales taxes everywhere.
No charges have been filed against the men involved in a fistfight at Superior Grill Saturday. A video of the fight was published on Facebook, and it has been viewed more than 241,000 times. The 21-second video shows two men confronting another man wearing a visor. The visor man is seated at a table with a large group. One of the standing men grabs the visor man as the two exchange words. Others step in to intervene. The visor man stands and begins to punch the man who grabbed him. Another man seated in the same group as the visor man bounds up from his seat, runs across the table, and leaps on one of the men who approached the table. This sparks several fights in the area. The man who leaped across the table throws several punches at the man who approached their table in the first place. Calls to Superior Grill's management requesting a comment and a copy of the video were not returned.
The CEO of Starbucks said he wants to apologize personally to two black men after the video of their arrest in a Philadelphia coffee shop spurred outrage. Police said a Starbucks manager called 911 Thursday because the men refused to leave after trying to use the store's restroom without making a purchase. They were arrested for alleged trespassing. Those two men claimed they were in Starbucks for a business meeting and were simply waiting for someone. Cell phone video shows two black men staying calm in their seats as officers repeatedly order them to leave. A third potential business partner arrives a few minutes later and offers to move their meeting somewhere else, but by then it was too late. Starbucks often touts its initiatives on race and diversity, but now it's under pressure from activists and protesters gathering outside the Philadelphia store for a second day in a row now. Activists accuse both Starbucks and the Philadelphia police of racism. In a statement, Starbucks CEO Kevin Johnson called the arrest reprehensible and plans to schedule a personal meeting with the two men arrested.
A collector discovers suspected drugs hidden inside a vintage video game from the 80s and a harrowing rescue from a boat crash off Miami Beach. Coming up in today's Take a Look at This.
A video game collector in Georgia was shocked when he opened two 1980s Nintendo games and found what appeared to be drugs packed inside. While visiting a flea market, Julian Turner scored vintage copies of Nintendo's golf and roller games. While shooting a video on the retro finds with his brother James, Turner noted something strange about the games.
I noticed that they're somewhat heavy.
Turner decided to crack open the cartridges and take a look inside.
Oh my God, yep. What is that? There's definitely something in here.
What is that?
I have no idea.
After seeing what they suspected to be drugs hidden inside, they immediately called police. Noonan police officers responded and have opened an investigation into the discovery. They said it appeared the packages had been inside the games for a very long time. According to the New York Post, detectives have yet to confirm test results on the powdery substance. A crash off the coast of Miami Beach left a boat teetering on a rocky jetty. 3 people had to be rescued when strong currents pushed the boat onto the rocks. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue dispatched fireboat crews to the scene, and conditions were so dangerous, authorities had to call in expert rescue swimmers. One of the boaters was taken to a hospital and was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. The incident occurred near the site of a crash in 2016 that claimed the life of MLB pitcher Jose Fernandez. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
After the break, Lauren Wagner has your weather recap.
And we've got the latest news in Hollywood. Stay tuned.
If you're among the 1 in 3 Americans with high blood pressure, knowing a few facts can help you keep from letting it get you down. For example, while high blood pressure increases your risk for heart disease and stroke, you can control it. First, you need to know about it. Since high blood pressure often has no symptoms, it's important to check it regularly. Blood pressure is measured using 2 numbers: systolic, the pressure when your heart beats, and diastolic, the pressure between beats. A reading of less than 120/80 is considered normal. One of more than 140/90 is considered a problem. If yours is high, your doctor may suggest certain lifestyle changes, such as eat a healthy diet low in salt and fat and high in fresh fruits and vegetables. Be active. Try taking a brisk 10-minute walk 3 times a day, 5 days a week. Don't smoke. If you do smoke, quit as soon as possible. You can learn more from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention at cdc.gov. Following 5 simple steps can help you make sure your next do-it-yourself project doesn't end up doing something to yourself you'd rather not. First, always follow instructions. Before starting any project, carefully read the instruction manual of any tool you'll use. Check blueprints and wiring diagrams. Next, dress for the job. Always wear protective clothing, safety goggles, gloves, and a dust mask when working with potentially hazardous materials. Don't wear jewelry or loose clothing while using power tools. Be sure to keep a first aid kit handy. Get one that's easily portable and can be opened quickly. Never leave a project unattended. Don't leave tools or materials around when you're not around. If a child or pet should find power tools or paint on a ladder, a problem could result. Know your limits. If the project involves electricity, say, or a lot of remodeling, it may be best left to the pros. A less than top quality job could just end up costing you more later. You want your do-it-yourself project to be something you can point to with pride while protecting your pocket.
Cooking is an important part of holiday celebrations for many families, and children love to be a part of it. Take steps to keep them safe this holiday season, especially in the kitchen. Prevent fires by making sure your stovetop and oven are clean and free of grease. Keep towels and pot holders away from hot surfaces. Never hold a child while cooking or when removing hot food from the microwave, oven, or stove. In fact, keep children at least 3 feet away from all cooking appliances. To protect from spills and burns, turn the pot handles in, away from reaching hands. Children must be supervised at all times in the kitchen. Never leave the kitchen when something's cooking. A fire or accident can happen in an instant. Once your holiday meal is ready, check that the stove and oven are turned off and that other kitchen appliances are unplugged and out of reach. Make safety a tradition. Best wishes for a happy and safe holiday season from ESFI.
Hey guys, I'm Lauren Wagner with your 3-day weather recap. And today for Monday, it's sunny with a high of 70 and a low of 50. Tomorrow for Tuesday, the pretty weather continues with a high of 82 and a low of 61. And for your midweek and Wednesday, it's going to be partly cloudy with a high of 78 and a low of 52. I'm Lauren Wagner with your Bipsy weather. Back to you guys at the desk.
You may not know R. Lee Ermey's name, but you probably would recognize his face and voice. Ermey, who starred as a fiery drill sergeant in the film Full Metal Jacket, died Sunday. That's according to a statement from Bill Rogan, Ermey's manager. In addition to appearing in other movies like Dead Man Walking and Seven, Ermey also did voiceover work, even lending his voice to the Toy Story films as appropriately Sarge. The Kansas native served in the Marine Corps for 11 years. In 2002, he received an honorary promotion to gunnery sergeant. Ermey, who fell victim to complications of pneumonia, was 74 years old.
A male python named Argo, who was surgically implanted with a tracking device, needed just 3 days to lead researchers to the largest trove of pythons found yet in Collier County in the Florida Everglades. It was a landmark discovery of the recently completed breeding season just before Valentine's Day. Argo had just found a 100-pound female python getting ready to lay eggs in a culvert. The female was captured and Argo was let loose again to be tracked. 3 days later and 3 miles away, Argo led researchers to another area of brush that contained 7 other male Burmese pythons and a female. The 8 snakes, called a breeding aggregation, were the most found in one place in southwest Florida and the western Everglades, where the pythons have been steadily spreading for years. It matches the largest aggregation found in the known hotbeds of the central and eastern Everglades, where the invasive and elusive predator has decimated entire populations of small animals. The tracking devices will continue to help these researchers combat the snake population for years to come.
Big movies, small movies, and movies that are just in the planning stages. David Daniel has today's roundup in the Hollywood Minute.
We need to change people's perceptions about superheroes, and Elastigirl is our best play.
Better than me?
Mr. Incredible as a stay-at-home dad? That's just one of the surprises in the first full trailer for Incredibles 2, opening in June.
You know it's crazy, right? To help my family, I gotta leave it. To fix the law, I gotta break it.
You've got to, so our kids can have that choice.
Thank you, young man.
No more riding, no more rodeos. If you don't stop, your seizures are going to get worse.
The Rider came out of the gate impressively, opening on 3 screens with a per-theater average of more than $15,000, higher than any wide-release movie this weekend. Critics are raving about the indie drama based on the true story of a former rodeo star searching for a new purpose in life. Its Rotten Tomatoes rating is 96%. John Krasinski is going from A Quiet Place to the quiet of space. He's set to direct and produce the sci-fi thriller Life on Mars, based on a short story about a woman on a Martian colony who discovers she can breathe the planet's air. Krasinski directed and starred in A Quiet Place, which has been a huge success, but he's expected to stay behind the camera for Mars. Back on Earth in Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Well, that's all the news we have for you today. I'm Esther Duty.
And I'm Danny Foots. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again Wednesday afternoon.
But then in the